It's the Aztec Coaches Show, presented by Verizon.
Throw back to the near side. Touchdown, Aztec!
The Aztec Coaches Show is brought to you by Quality First Real Estate. For residential real estate needs, it's Quality First at QualityFirstRealEstate.com. Proud sponsor of Aztec Athletics. Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, San Diego's most authentic Irish pub and grill, and proud host of the Aztec Coaches Shows. And by Quality First Commercial Real Estate. For commercial real estate needs, it's Quality First at QualityFirstCommercial.com. Proud sponsor of Aztec Athletics. Now, live from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, it's the Aztec Coaches Show. Here's your host, Chris Ello.
Go! It's Wednesday night. That must mean it is time for the Aztec Coaches Show with Rocky Long. Welcome to Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. Let's hear it out there for the Aztecs football team. And head coach Rocky Long joins us. Hooley's home to the famous corned beef tacos, other award-winning menu items, and of course Wednesdays throughout this season. We are here at Hooley's in Grossmont Center. Coach Rocky Long live on site for our show. The program also brought to you by our friends at Quality First Real Estate, San Diego's top real estate company. We can help you buy, sell, and manage San Diego real estate. When it comes to real estate, it's always Quality First. Click on QualityFirstRealEstate.com. Coach Rocky Long is with us. We'll open up the floor for some questions a little bit later on in our program. So if you got a question out there, if you're here at Hooley's and you have a question for Coach Rocky Long, get set for that. Polly will bring around the wireless microphone in a little while, and you guys can ask a question of Coach Rocky Long. If you're listening to the program on AM 600 Kogo or FM News Talk 95.7, phone lines to call in, 858-569-8255. That's 858-569-8255. Or if you're watching or listening on the internet anywhere around the country, you can call the program 1-800-600-KOGO. That's 1-800-600-5646. Coach, how are you tonight?
I'm just fine. How about you?
I'm doing well, thanks. You know, we talked before the Washington game. The season opener against Washington, we talked about last year's Alamo Bowl, and the score, I think, was 67-56. Baylor played Washington, and I asked you what you thought of that game as a defensive coordinator, and you said it wasn't exactly your favorite game of all time. So I don't know if I'm a little scared to ask you what you thought of the 49-41 game that you were a part of on Saturday night. A great game to win, but not the kind of score you're always looking for, I wouldn't think.
No, I mean, it's always, no matter how you win, that's what's important. There's no such thing as a bad win, even though some people would like to think there is, but there's no such thing as a bad win. But that has, there was actually a few defensive plays made in that game where the one you talked about, Baylor and Washington, there was no defense out there. You know, so, I mean, we started off good on defense. The very first play of the game, we intercepted a pass and ran it back for a touchdown. And then late in the game, now I thought the spot was terrible, but late in the game we stopped them on fourth down to preserve the win. So the defense had something to do with the win. I don't like when people run up and down the field. I like when we run up and down the field, but I don't like when the other team runs up and down the field. I'm betting that quarterback will never play that good again. And if he does continue to play that good, they're going to be in the hunt for the national championship at their level. And if you get to the top 8 teams at that division that are in the playoffs, they can beat 70-80% of the Division I teams if you get their top 8. And I actually believe that team is in their division is one of the top 10 teams in the country after playing.
They look pretty good. There's no question. I mean, we watched this game. We broadcast this game. I know a lot of you fans were at this game, San Diego State and North Dakota, and I think we're all sitting there going, hey, I mean, this North Dakota quarterback, Hendrickson was just absolutely on fire. He had some great wide receivers. I'm sure that defensively you changed everything up as often as you could. You tried to rush and get there with 4. You couldn't get that, so you tried to blitz him. Seemed like every time you got close to him, he stepped away and found a receiver. He got the ball into some very tight windows, and his receivers made plays for him. So every once in a while, I think you said this after the game, you have to tip your hat to the other guy a little bit.
Yeah, I think you have to give him credit. Now, I don't know if he'll play that well again, but he has weapons. I mean, they have their offensive lines as good as we've played against so far. I would doubt that we'll play against an offensive line any better than them, but they were very comparable to the offensive lines we've already played against. They have receivers that are 2 young ones that are pretty good, and then they have 1 older one that's as fast as anybody we played against last year. He reminded me of the receiver from TCU. And then the quarterback, it's like every sport. The quarterback got hot. We had trouble getting pressure on him. We had trouble sacking him because the offensive line was doing a great job. And then he got hot. Everything he threw. Now, he had a couple really good throws dropped, too. I mean, everything he threw, if he wasn't being hit, everything he threw was right on the money. And then the receivers caught it for him. So there are days when quarterbacks are like that. There are days when in basketball a guy can't miss. I mean, and he had a great game. Now, I'm telling you, if he continues to play that well, we'll hear about them later on. I'm guessing he won't play that well again because that's one of those special nights. But you would like to think that we could have broke up his rhythm, but we tried it all. I mean, we tried zone coverage, and we couldn't get enough heat. We tried man coverage, and we got enough heat, but he threw it just before we got there, and the ball was on the money. So, I don't know. Maybe we should have tried a little of both.
Well, I think you did. But let's talk a little bit about your team as well. I mean, this is 91 points now that San Diego State has put up offensively in the last 2 games. That's 13 touchdowns. That's 11 on offense, 1 on defense, 1 on a kick return. And you got to feel very good about that. A 49-41 victory, 2 wins in a row, a 2-1 record. Let's talk a little bit about what you guys did well on Saturday night and take a look at your offense, just in general, how you thought quarterback Ryan Katz played. Your running game was sensational with 292 yards. You had a big game from Gavin Escobar. Bryce Butler contributed for the first time. So you had a lot of things go very, very well on Saturday night also, and I know that you haven't probably been asked enough about that.
Probably not. People don't usually ask you about things that are right about you. They always want to know what's wrong. But our offense had a great night. Now, I don't think that who we played, I don't think they're especially skilled on defense, but we have weapons. Ryan Katz is getting better every week. I told everybody before the season we had outstanding receivers. I told everybody before the season that we had pretty good running backs in our program. We didn't have Ronnie Hillman, but 2 or 3 of our running backs would have the same production as Ronnie Hillman did. The whole question on offense is whether the offensive line was going to be, because they were young, were going to be good enough to protect the quarterback and open up holes for the running backs. Well, the offensive line started out a little shaky against Washington. They were pretty good against Army, and they were really good against North Dakota. Now, so that's progress, and that's impressive on how our offense has played the last 2 weeks. Now they're going to get their first real test this week. San Jose State is ranked 27th in total defense in the country right now. So you have an offense that is very similar. San Jose has an offense that's very similar to the one we just played. The quarterback's just as good. The receivers are just as good. The tight ends are better, and the running backs are better. Okay, now I'm hoping their quarterback doesn't have one of those unbelievable nights. But their defense is a lot better than the last 2 defenses we played against. So for us to have a chance to win the game, our offense is going to have to really be better than they were last week.
Where are you guys confidence-wise, offense versus defense? I thought Ryan Katz said some really nice things after the game, and he said, look, there's going to be weeks where we're struggling a little bit and our defense is going to come through and win a game for us. Tonight was a night where our defense was struggling a little bit. We had to come through and help win a game for them. That's the kind of team play that you want to hear. That's the kind of team play that gets you places, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we've got we have good team camaraderie. I think we have good team spirit. There's no rivalry between offense and defense, and we talk about that all the time. When one side of the ball is struggling, the other side of the ball has to play better. And that's exactly – the defense was struggling, so the offense played better. And hopefully there's somewhere down the road we're going to exchange that, and if the offense is struggling, the defense is going to be good enough that we cause turnovers and cause momentum for our offense. That's what teams do. Teams find a way to win. And if you look in the history of all football programs, there are times that teams have lost games that they should win. Well, I mean, we didn't play especially well on both sides of the ball, but we were supposed to win, and guess what? We did win. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. We did win.
Yeah, last check, there was a win, right, everybody? Last Saturday night? All right, then. So San Diego State goes to 2-1 with the victory, 49-41 over North Dakota. Coming up this Saturday night, it is San Jose State. We're going to talk a little bit about the Spartans when we come back. Want to remind you the tickets are still available for the Aztec game this Saturday night, September the 22nd, as the Aztecs welcome the San Jose State Spartans into Aztec Warrior Stadium. Tickets for this game, get the word out, they start at only $6. Kickoff is at 5 o'clock. To purchase tickets, you can call 619-283-SDSU or log on to goaztecs.com. And don't forget, fans, the Warrior Walk will take place at 3 o'clock this Saturday afternoon. Be part of this tradition when the team makes the walk into Qualcomm Stadium, starting in the E3, F3 parking area and finishing in Aztec Village in parking area F1. Be sure to be a part of this fan-favorite event and cheer on the Aztecs as they prepare to take on San Jose State this Saturday night's game at 5 o'clock. We'll come back with more with Aztec head coach Rocky Long, talk about Saturday night's upcoming game against 2-1 San Jose State. We'll do that next. You're listening to the Aztec Coaches Show on News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo, live from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. Everybody,
Go!
San Diego State Aztec football team. If you are interested in buying, selling, or leasing a commercial property, Quality First Commercial, a full-service commercial real estate firm, visit our webpage, qualityfirstcommercial.com. QFC is here for all of your commercial real estate needs. This Saturday night, 5 o'clock, right here on News Talk Radio, FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo. From Qualcomm Stadium, the Aztecs' third home game in a row. And coming up is the San Jose State Spartans, a team that come in with a record of 2-1, just like the Aztecs. And, Coach, this is a very good-looking team. You already mentioned that they were number 27 in the nation defensively. They caught my eye right off the get-go. The very first game this season, they played against Stanford, which right now is 9th in the nation. And San Jose State almost won that game. They had that game. It was tied in the fourth quarter. Stanford kicked the field goal and beat them 20-17. But if they're playing that close against Stanford, a team that just beat USC, stands to reason that San Jose State's probably pretty decent.
They are. I mean, they're better than decent. And when you watch the Stanford game, they actually, after Stanford kicked the field goal, they actually had the ball and were moving down the field and fumbled. And then Stanford recovered, or they would have had a chance to tie the game and go into overtime. And then they played UC Davis, and that was a very good game too until about the end of the third quarter, and then they kind of blew it open. And then last week they played Colorado State, and the Colorado State game I think was let me get this right. It was tied up halfway through the third quarter, and then they blew them out the last quarter. So they've played some really close games and has found a way at the end to blow them wide open. And they're talented. Their quarterback's completing, I think he's 5th in the country or 6th in the country. He's completing 77% of his passes.
That's ridiculous, by the way. That's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? He's only 5th in the country with that. The kid from West Virginia is completing 88% of his passes. I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that before. But 77%, that's pretty tough. So obviously the key is to try back to where you were last Saturday against North Dakota, but finding a way to get pressure and disrupting him.
Yeah, you have to get pressure with 4 guys in order to give him a variety of different coverages so he doesn't know exactly who to throw it to. And if you can't do that, then it's all about how well you can get or how fast you can get to the quarterback with the blitz. And if you can't do that, it's how well you can play man coverage. So it's going to be a struggle. At the press conference that you were at, they asked about that and about the offenses nowadays. And I'm telling you, the quarterbacks and receivers are so much better than they were 10 years ago because they start them younger. And then they put them in all these 7-on-7 tournaments, Pascal tournaments, and they start when they're about 8 or 9 years old, throwing the ball, catching the ball, and go to all these tournaments. So the offenses, I think, and the rules of the game have changed a little bit. The offense has some advantages they didn't used to have, and the offensive skill guys are so much more skilled at throwing it and catching it than they used to be. I can remember the day where a 300-yard passing game was national news.
That was big, yeah.
Now you got to throw over 500 yards to get national attention.
Yeah. In the NFL, and it's the same thing in the National Football League. There was 3 quarterbacks last year that threw for over 5,000 yards in the NFL. That had only happened twice before in the history of the league, and then it happened 3 times in 1 year. So it's pretty obvious. And San Jose State, along with their quarterback, and we're talking about David Foles with the 77% completion rate, but also their wide receiving crew, they've got 3 guys that all caught for over 100 yards against Colorado State. So it's a little difficult to gang up on anybody.
Well, you can't double team anybody if that's what you mean there.
Yeah.
The old way of where you had one great receiver where you always had a free safety or someone that would go over and be over the top so a guy could press and be underneath, or he'd be inside so the guy could work his outside shoulder and make him come to the safety. Well, if you got 3 really good receivers, you can't double team one guy because the other 2 kill you. I mean, our offense is having some of those successes too. I mean, they see a good receiver on film, and they do something to take him away, and then someone else has a really good day. So we have advantages because we have 3 or 4 really good receivers too, so they can't do it either. So hopefully it's not another shootout.
I know a lot of people thought, well, what happened to Ezell Ruffin? He had a great game, 5 catches, 130-some-odd yards in the win a couple of weeks ago over Army, then did not catch any passes against North Dakota, but as you just said, one of the reasons was North Dakota saw the Army tape,
right,
and they said, "Well, we're gonna guard Ezell Ruffin. We're gonna let him beat us," and so that allowed Bryce Butler to get open and have a big game, and it was nice to see Gavin Escobar. We talked about him last week that they've been taking him away from you,
right,
and last week you guys got the ball to him, and he made great plays for you.
Well, that's what usually happens. You know, if you have a really good running game. Sometimes they stack the line of scrimmage, which means it's one-on-one at the back end. So if you have a really good running game and you can use play-action pass, your quarterback can get a little bit more time, and it allows the receivers to work one-on-one. And I don't know how great you have to be as a defensive back, but if the quarterback has a lot of time, it's really hard to cover those guys for an extended amount of time.
Yeah, really tough. Now, what about San Jose State's defense? Why have they been so good? They rank 19th in the nation in tackles for loss. They rank 6th in the nation in sacks, so they do get pressure on the quarterback. I guess those are the 2 main reasons why they've been pretty good so far. What else have you seen?
Well, number one, the coach, Mike McIntyre, has done a great job. He took a program over that was starting to come back, and he took it over. He recruited well. He took his lumps the first 2 years he was there by playing all these young guys. These are the same guys, and they're all juniors and seniors. That's usually the way a program is built. If you look at their depth chart, there's a lot of juniors and seniors that are starting, and a lot of their linemen are juniors and seniors on the offense and the defense. So they are able to control the run with a 7-man front, and they are able to get pressure on the quarterback with a 5-man rush or a 4-man rush. So right now they're playing at a level that they're playing great defense, and I think it's at the line of scrimmage. They have good skill players, but you don't even realize you have good skill on offense or defense unless the line of scrimmage is equal.
Well, they've got one guy, Travis Johnson, who has 24 sacks. That's more than any player in all of college football in his career. He's got 24 sacks in 40 games. He has 36 tackles for losses. So you're going to have to find a way to block him. San Jose State, awfully good-looking team coming in here on Saturday night to take on the Aztecs at 5 o'clock. It is the final non-conference game of the year. And I think I look at this as kind of a key game. I mean, kind of one of those games that kind of the direction of your season could change a little bit here. You go to 3-1 going into conference on an upbeat, feeling very confident, or you're 2-2 trying to figure out what to do going to Fresno State next week. So this is one of those games. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel this is kind of a key game in the balance of your season a little bit.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's a very important game for both teams.
Okay.
I mean, they're 2-1 also.
Yeah.
And I think they have confidence that they have a really good football team. And I think we can be a pretty good football team. And sometimes when you have 2 teams that are building programs and they're in their own minds, they believe that they're building a program to be a very good team, and now all of a sudden you play each other, I think it's going to be a great – I already told the players this. I think it's going to be a great football game. I really do. And the team that plays the best and executes the best is going to win, because I don't think either team has advantage. I mean, there might be an advantage in one position or the other, but there's no advantage of the teams. The teams are very equally matched. The teams are being built, basically, in my opinion, the exact same way. And now all of a sudden you meet up at a critical point in the building of your program, and a win's going to, I think, do wonders for you. And a loss, you're going to have to regroup and start over again, so to speak. You won't have to change any offense or defense, but you're going to have to regroup and make it a new season after that game. It'd be a lot more fun to be on the other end, where you vault yourself into thinking you're a really good football team.
We'll find out Saturday night at 5 o'clock. You folks out here have any questions for Coach Rocky Long? It is going to be your turn next when we come back after this short timeout. You're listening to the Aztec Coaches Show. Chris Ello along with the head coach Rocky Long. We are at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. We're here every Wednesday night for the Aztec Coaches Show on News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo.
Go!
Time for the second half kickoff of the Aztec Football Coaches Show. Chris Ello here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center, along with the coach Rocky Long. Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, also located in my hometown, Rancho San Diego. Award-winning food, great draft and bottled beer selections, and fantastic happy hour specials as well. Click Hooley's.com for directions and much more. Hooley's, the official host location of the Aztec Football Coaches Show. Thanks again, Craig, for having us out here again this week. Craig is awesome. And can we just have 2 seconds for everybody to give a huge round of applause to one of the great Aztec fans, Darlene, who is here tonight celebrating her 80th birthday. Darlene is over here. She doesn't want anybody to know that we know, but happy birthday to Darlene, and thanks for coming down tonight. All right. Aztecs and San Jose State coming up on Saturday night. Again, as Coach Long said, it's going to be a great game. This is going to be the 35th meeting between these two teams. Last one didn't go so well. It was before you got here, Coach, but we went up to San Jose. They won at 35-10. So, but they haven't won a game in San Diego since 1952. But they lead the all-time series 17-15. These are two of the three California state schools that are Division I. San Jose State, San Diego State, and Fresno State, and you play them both back-to-back games. Does this rivalry mean anything at all to these kids, or do you get into that discussion at all? And then we're going to get to some questions from our crowd here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. I
think I don't think they think of it as a rivalry. Yeah. I would be surprised if San Jose State did either. We kind of re-upped the Fresno State rivalry last year, brought out a trophy and made it a big deal, and I think that will continue to be a rivalry if we continue to play them. I don't know if we'll continue to play them or not, but I think this game will be very intense, and it's not because of a rivalry. It'll be very intense because what we talked about earlier. Both teams have great respect. I don't know if they have great respect for ours, but our team has great respect for how good they are. And so our team's excited about playing, and our team thinks it's going to be a great football game. It's going to have the same intensity, I think, as a rivalry game.
All right, let's get to some questions. Where'd Polly go? There's Polly. All right, she's walking around with the wireless microphone. We're here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. And if you've got a question, there's another one back behind you too, Polly. But go ahead and get our first question right over here for Rocky Long. Yes, sir.
I got a question about the special teams. Okay, there's a freshman in the squad. His name is Fear. And in practice, he looks really good. It's like, is he ever going to see any game time? Or, I mean...
Rocky Long has gotten, you've gotten like 1 or 2 questions this year about your special teams, haven't you?
Yeah, I think field goals, whether you make them or not, are overshadowing the success our special teams have had. I mean, I think we're 8th in the country in punt returns, and we're in the top 25 in kickoff returns, and our punt team has been pretty good. Now, we've been terrible at kicking field goals. And I answer the question the same every week. We have Wes Fears is one of them. We have 3 kickers in the program, and they compete every week, and whoever kicks the best in practice kicks in the game. And that's the same thing that's happening this week. And there are days then Wes Fear kicks. Are you related or anything? Okay. There are days when Wes Fears kicks it really, really well, and then there are days where he doesn't kick it very well.
It's really been that way all year long for Coach Long with the kicking game. Seamus McMorrow is the freshman. Wes Fears is actually not a freshman. He's a
JC transfer.
He's a JC transfer from Riverside City College, where he played for Tom Kraft, the old Aztec coach. So that's where Wes Fear came from. But thanks for the question, and we'll all just wait and see, I guess, who kicks this Saturday night, right? If you kick at all. We haven't put the chart away yet forever, right?
No.
The chart still exists.
Now we're 100% on extra points.
We are.
That's been brought up to me a couple times too.
And yeah, I'm sure that has been. You all wait until that chart and a 2-point conversion leads the Aztecs to an upset win over somebody.
There you
just
go.
the same way Louisiana Monroe beat Arkansas. And you'll know what we're talking about with that chart. All right, let's go to some other questions here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. Yes, sir. Stand up there so we can see you, if you would, please. Yeah.
All right, so congratulations on two wins so far. As you said, San Jose State is pretty tough. They played Stanford pretty tough. You've also said that we're pretty evenly matched against them. The odds makers in Vegas seem to agree. They have San Diego State favored by 3, which usually means defensive struggle and coming down to a kick. How do you feel about that?
You can always win the game by 3 by getting like 5 touchdowns, and they get 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Then you win by a field goal.
I'm glad you brought that up.
You don't have to.
I didn't know how to answer that.
You don't have to win. You don't have to. Just because Vegas says it's a 3-point spread doesn't mean you have to kick a field goal and win by 3.
I mean, it's just like we're still early in the season, and a win doesn't make your season, and a loss still doesn't make your season. But I've talked to our kickers, and since we haven't made any yet, I have this vision that we're going to make 20 field goals in a row. So when we have to kick a field goal to win the game on Saturday, it's the first one of the 20.
All right. Well, by the way, last week too, the one field goal was made actually when they called timeout, and then they took it off the board, and then he had to kick it again. But Chance Martin did make that 40-yard field goal, and I don't know what you think of that rule, but not just because of that situation, but I don't like that rule to begin with, where you can call timeout a half a second before a kid kicks a field goal. But they do that in the NFL also. I don't like it. I don't like it there either.
I don't like. I've done it before. I don't like doing it either.
You've done it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's the right way. But when it works, everybody expects you to do it.
Yeah, right.
It's like everything. If you don't do it, they don't think you're coaching.
Fair enough. It's like calling timeout with 10 seconds to go on the clock and you're down by 10 points, but you have one timeout remaining, so you better go ahead and take it. All right. Another question for the coach here from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. Yes, sir.
First of all, hail Montezuma. Second of all, I heard Alec Johnson broke his hand. Is that going to affect snapping and the protection scheme for next week?
Alec Johnson is the Aztec center, and he did, I think, break his hand last week, but he's done this before, and he's handled it just fine, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. That's a good insight there.
Good question.
Last year, about the same time of the year, he snaps with his right hand, and he broke his hand last year, so he snapped with his left hand. And at the first, we thought that was a big concern, and when I went up and asked him, he said he was left-handed anyway. And I said, well, why have you been snapping with your right hand? He says, when he was in high school, the coaches made him change and snap with his right hand because the laces came up to the quarterback correctly. And that is true, except that you can snap with your left hand and just put the laces on the other side, and the laces will come up correctly too. But so last year he broke his hand, and they patted him up, and he did just fine with his left hand, so that's what he's going to do now. Now, I say that, so the snapping should be just fine. But anybody that knows the way modern football is played, offensive linemen hold. Okay? Now, the good ones get inside and grab a hold of the jersey, and they're not wrapped around the defensive guy, but the use of their hands is vital to blocking and protection of the quarterback. Well, he'll have his hand in a cast, and it'll be all wrapped up, so he will not be able to grab with that hand. So it does deter his effectiveness a little bit. but it won't be the snap that'll be the problem. It'll be the other problem. Now, offensive linemen will say they never hold, but they're lying.
Rocky Long never lies, right? That's for sure. Coach, let me ask you about the offensive line overall, because you brought it up earlier. Your offense only going to go as far as this new look offensive line will take you. How would you grade them out through the first 3 games this season, getting better and better and better? And how much further do they have to go?
What you said is exactly right. They made a big jump from the first game to the second game. They made another jump from the second game to the third game. We are not to the caliber yet and consistency yet that we can win a championship with. But the talent level of the players is there. So if they continue to make the improvement that they're making right now, here in about 3 or 4 more weeks, we'll be a championship caliber football team. Now, we got to win some games in the meantime, but they've made so much improvement that your confidence level, or my confidence level, is really high.
All right, that's for Coach Rocky Long. Do we have anything else? Say good job. Yeah, there's one more over here. Did you have a question for Coach Rocky Long? Our last question in the live fan segment here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill.
You've got all these great athletes and you have all these great trainers and coaches. How do you build confidence in these kids, especially with a young team? Do you have a psychologist, or how do you, because most of life is between your ears and in your heart, and the rest is just talent. But those 2 things are really important. How do you build confidence in them?
I guess from experience, you learn several ways that you try to build confidence in players. Yeah, first of all, you downgrade them at times. You motivate them both positively and negatively. You train them to increase their skills, their fundamentals and their skills, which gives them a chance to be more successful at what they're trying to do. My real belief is success breeds confidence. And we were just talking in the break here that right now our defense has lost a little of their confidence because of the number of yards and the scores they gave up last weekend. Well, the only way to get your confidence back is to go back to work on your fundamentals, improve your skills, and then go out and make plays or go out and have some success, and then all of a sudden your confidence comes back. We do a lot of things in the off season more than we do in the season about building confidence by competitions and so forth and so on.
All right, good question. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody for their questions for Coach Rocky Long tonight. We'll take one final time out here on the Aztec Football Coaches Show. Come back with a final segment. You're listening to Coach Rocky Long. Chris Cello here from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center on News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Cocoa. Go! Back at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. Come on, people, we got to finish strong. 4th and final segment with Aztec head coach Rocky Long. Chris Cello with you. A time now for our California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week. California Bank and Trust proud to recognize SDSU's outstanding student athletes. This week's California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week is men's soccer player Jordan Ongaro. Jordan was selected as the man of the match in Sunday 9-0 victory over North Florida. Most lopsided victory in Aztec program history. I would say so, 9-0. Jordan played 60 minutes, scored a hat trick, and added an assist. He leads the team with 6 goals and 13 total points this season. Jordan Ongaro, born in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and majoring in art, our California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week. So let's hear it for Jordan Ongaro. Soccer teams are playing well. I know the women are 7-1-1 and ranked number 17 in the nation. Just lost a tough one, a heartbreaker the other night to Stanford, 1-0. Stanford, the defending national champs in women's soccer. So San Diego State's women's soccer playing very well. You should get out and see them play at some point this season. Coach, before we have a couple minutes left here tonight, Coach Rocky Long is with us. I wanted to take a second and maybe allow you to take a second to talk about your coaching staff just a little bit and the job that they've done. I don't know how good the defensive coordinator was last week, and I'm winking as I say that, but I know that the offensive coordinator's been dialing up some pretty good stuff, and that's Andy Ludwig, and he's in his 2nd season now with this offense, and they've got things cranked up. I love the balance in this offense, run and pass. People don't know where you're going to attack them from, but I know that you certainly don't do it alone, and we don't really spend a lot of time asking you about your staff, and I thought that maybe you wanted to take a minute to talk about Coach Ludwig and some of the other guys.
Well, I think Andy is a coach that's having great success here, but has had great success at other places. He's been offensive coordinator at Fresno. He's been offensive coordinator at Utah. He was offensive coordinator at Cal. So he's got a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience, and he's done a great job for us. We've got the kind of the old and the young as we go, but Jeff Horton is the assistant head coach, coaches the running backs. He was the head coach at UNLV for a while. He's coached in the NFL for a while. He really knows what he's doing. Brian Sipe, everybody knows Brian in this town, and he's got great experience as a player. Is a former Aztec, which makes it feel a little bit better to him. I'm sure that when we win, it means a little bit more to him. He does a great job with the quarterbacks. Charles McDaniels is our wide receiver coach, and he's been the wide receiver coach or DB coach here for about 3 or 4 different head coaches, and has done a great job. You know, obviously, otherwise he wouldn't get to stay around. And then the youngest one of the group is a guy named Mike Schmidt, is our new offensive line coach, who was a player, and then he was a GA for 3 years, and now he's full-time, and he's got the task of molding that young offensive line, and like we said earlier, they're getting better and better and better, so he's doing a really good job. On defense, we've got Osei Lewis is our defensive line coach that has coached a bunch of different places, coached some pros for a little bit, and been mostly a defensive line coach or linebacker coach. Was the defense coordinator at UTEP for 5 or 6 years. Danny Gonzalez is our safeties coach. He coached with us at New Mexico, so he knows the system really, really well. He's a very good fundamental coach, very good at teaching guys skills and getting them to play hard. Tony White is a former UCLA player that coaches our corner, and we do have pretty good talent on the team, young talent. Tony is our recruiting coordinator. Kevin McGarry is our special teams coordinator. Last year he was our linebacker coach. And I thought we needed, with young guys as kickers and deep snappers and all that, I thought we needed a guy that was in charge totally with special teams, and Kevin McGarry did it. And like, other than the field goals, our special teams are playing pretty good.
They are pretty good this year. It's a good special teams unit, especially on the kickoff returns and all that, punt coverage, kickoff coverage. And I think your young punter, Seamus McMorrow, is starting to come alive, kicking the football as well. All right, Aztecs and San Jose State. Game time is 5 o'clock this Saturday afternoon at Aztec Warrior Stadium. Remember, some tickets are still available. They begin at only $6. Everybody get there at 3 o'clock for the Warrior Walk as the Aztecs walk into the stadium to get ready to take on the Spartans.